Chris? Hi, everyone.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think we're just waiting for Steve, and I'm assuming he should be on in just a moment. Steve, how are you?
Um, Great. I'm just getting over an interesting bout of COVID.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was 5 days.
Oh,
I'm here though.
good. I
Bilal's not going to
feel
be
good.
Bilal's not going to be joining us, by the way.
Okay, great. I think it's going around. Jason's out with COVID right now too.
He has COVID.
Yep.
What are you sharing today with the group, by the way, Cindy and or Rachel?
Yeah, so our agenda covers America's field trip, which is back up and running this year. And we can share a little bit about that initiative. The one pager that has been developed for educators, and then sharing a bit on the idea behind the 250th packet for educators. Yes, we can send the agenda in the chat for sure.
And is the what did you call it, the 250 what packet?
The packet that we've talked about a little bit.
Right.
So I think this is going to be most folks, so I think we can get right to it. Um, so I believe most people on the call should know about America's field trip, but just in case, I'm throwing a link. We're just throwing double links in the chat today. So it is an initiative hosted by the National 250th Commission. They are encouraging students to submit essays or I believe it is artwork. They have eliminated the option to submit a video for this coming year due to some copyright complications that they ran into last year. but encouraging students in grades 3 through 12 to answer the question, what does America mean to you? And the answer to that question can be in written or art form, and then they have a group of folks who choose prize winners, and I believe this upcoming year it's going to be 250 winners, but don't hold me to that. Who then get a unique field trip experience. So this past summer, kids got to do sleepovers at some museums, got to visit the top of the Statue of Liberty, which is not really available to anybody anymore these days. Special visits to the Smithsonian, and the National Commission pays for the field trip, for the students to attend and a parent or a chaperone to go with them. So we had a second place winner from Connecticut last year who would have won $500 in prize money. And some of the other states had 9, 10, 11 winners. So we encourage kids to participate. It's a great opportunity. And what I can also share with you all is that we do have access to students who submitted work last year but did not necessarily win. So I can share that with the group, and if there's some way that as the education subcommittee or the 250th committee, if there's some way that we would like to recognize those students or use this work, we do also have that option. Any questions?
Cindy, this will be available, I assume, in this year and also next year, leading up to July 4th, correct? I'm sure this will be another round of the contest next year as well.
They haven't confirmed, but yes, I would assume that it will be back again next year. And they don't have listed here the deadline, and I don't quite remember it, but I believe it is sometime in May. So we have almost a full school year to get these submitted.
Right.
So there's no rush necessarily. But I do, okay, there we go. Ends on April 16th of 2025.
Okay.
So we have 6.5 months. Any other questions? We proposed a few field trip ideas for Connecticut, but none of those were accepted. So it looks like they've only listed, I believe, the opportunities. Oh, no, there is a listing of the first place prizes. And they're for the most part tied to places of national significance or a presidential visit, like a library, presidential library type thing. So a little different. So if there are no other questions about America's field trip, the next item that we were hoping to get some feedback on is we created this education one-sheeter to kind of highlight at a high level for teachers what the 250th is, and what we will be putting together as a commission, but we wanted to get any feedback that you all have in terms of information that is missing here, what could make this more exciting and relevant for teachers, if there's anything else that we feel is needed.
I have 2 questions about it. One was, I didn't see any link to anything local on this, which I thought was supposed to be one of the focuses. And the second was just a concern of why high schools are not sort of a key part of this as well. Like why would it not also focus on high schools?
See where it says Jenny grades K to 8, should, Tracy, you're suggesting it should say K to 12, correct?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, below it, it says students interested in American history and American government, but I mean, why would we not want high school teachers to be focusing on this? Because I mean, America 250 is not just about 1776, but it's about the ideals of the Declaration that go through all of our history. Am I right about that?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, Tracy, I'm at least having a hard time hearing you. Your audio is coming through really quiet, but that might just be me.
Or
Can you hear me now? Or
yeah.
no?
Faintly. But I will say, I think there was a typo in the first version. That it should have been K through 12. You're correct about that.
I think sometimes on the website when we link, like when I uploaded it again, possibly, I've had this happen before, that the link is the same, so it takes you back to the old version. So I think we did update it, and I probably just have to change the name of it.
And isn't the local story supposed to be a big part of this? I don't see anything in here about local Connecticut stories.
Rachel, how about if we can work on this and put in, make sure that I agree with Tracy. We can work on this and put in, make sure that that's included.
Because I do think that teachers do look at founding documents. You know, I mean, I don't know if this is telling teachers anything, you know. I mean, I guess the inclusive stories are clear here. But I think the beauty of this is the chance to tell Connecticut's story, and the town story, which just have really real interest to students. And it's a chance to spur our local historical societies to work on those stories and to, you know, team up with schools. I mean, to me, this looks like something that America 250 put out. But I don't really see any Connecticut piece to it.
Thanks, Tracy. That's helpful. I think in trying to keep it short, it became very general. So we can definitely work on other ways to.
Cindy, can you, Rachel, and I hook back and we can make sure that the local angle, that's a poor choice of wording, but the local perspective is added.
Yep, exactly. And so in that case, moving on to are there any other thoughts before actually we move on to the next item? Any other things missing from this that would be important for educators. We are hoping to work with CCSS, our local commission leaders, to start sharing this out more widely with educators. I know Rebecca, that these were included in some of your History Day packets. But I think we're hoping that before the end of in the next month or so, we can get this out into the hands of teachers in Connecticut so that they are aware that this is coming up.
Yeah, and for the, I mean, everybody probably knows this, but a major reason for this is we're still to the point of that there's many teachers in Connecticut, including US history teachers at all levels, that are not aware of America 250. So hopefully by getting this out to in as many venues as we can, at least we can hit that problem a bit.
I just have a question, I guess. So I imagine CCSS will mail this out and other groups will mail this out to their mailing list, and teachers are going to review this one pager, I guess, learn about what America 250 is and want to get involved. That's the point of the one pager. I just want to be sure I'm clear on the audience and purpose.
Yeah, I think want to get involved and start, I guess, even more than that, start thinking about how they might be able to incorporate some of this into what they're doing, or start to I would say start thinking about how to incorporate it into classroom lessons over the next couple of years. I think in terms of local committees, when we share it with them, the hope would be that we've already encouraged them to reach out to teachers, their superintendents, and other people in their school district to get those folks involved in the local committees. But by sharing this with them, hopefully it helps them. It helps for them to reach out to teachers and make sure that teachers know this is coming and work with other organizations in the community.
And Cindy, correct me if I'm wrong, but America 250 is also going to be reaching out to CABE, the Organization of Boards of Education,
Yeah,
CAPS, the Organization of Superintendents, to meet with those groups. So this is sort of hopefully letting the teachers know, but meetings will also take place so that the quote unquote higher ups will be informed of America 250 as well.
Sounds good. The fourth bullet point or whatever this is, header, it says, what will teachers be receiving? Is that passive language? Should we just say, what will teachers receive? Sorry, that's like a really small, nitpicky thing.
That's okay. Yeah, we can make that edit.
Sorry, that's a real small edit. Now I contributed, so now I feel good about it.
But to your point, Tony, do you feel like the ask for teachers needs to be more clear?
I don't see an ask, honestly.
Well, right.
Yeah, there's no ask here. So, you say reach out for more information, but to what end? You know what I mean? Like, I understand that this is probably early on and we don't know what the programs are going to be. But I think if there was something that people could, okay, we got them excited. Let's say this gets people excited. Okay, great. So they're going to be doing this on their own. Is there a community of teachers that are going to be doing this together? Is there a meeting that people should go to like get jazzed up about it? Like, if this is just information for information's sake, that's fine, because raising awareness is important. But again, at the same time, as a teacher, I might see this. I don't think I would read all this because this is going to be too much information for me to read. If there was like a come to the launch event or sign up to be a part of the 250 teacher cadre. That's not a good word, but something to that effect where people are gonna, what's the action here? They're gonna see this. What's the action? The only action I see here is reach out if you want more information. This was me. I'd be like, well, I'm already teaching this topic because I teach civics. So, I don't really have to do anything here. But like, is there a new community that's being formed, or is there going to be professional development that I could tune into? Is there, what is the thing that's going to get someone excited to want to be a part of this? Aside from just, it's good. And there's no
Tony, part of this, I
kind
think, is part of the point of this, as I remember it, was simply to let a large number of teachers know that the thing exists.
Okay, great. Well, if that's the
You know,
point,
I mean,
that happens.
And then follow-up communications will be on specific activities like you're describing, I think.
Yeah, but I do think at the very least we could add a mailing list sign up, because we do have an option on there for teacher resources. So encourage people to sign up for the mailing list, and that way we have teacher emails when we are ready to share out resources. So yeah, I think that's a great point.
I'm just going to jump in here, as I think Tony's right and I think Tracy's right. I did a teacher PD in West Hartford, mostly elementary teachers. There was 2 high school teachers. The assistant superintendent is on the local committee. She's the only one who knew anything about 250. She tried to explain, she was trying to develop a cohort of people who are interested. And part of the problem, and I think Tony's absolutely right, is the teachers looked at this and said, so what am I supposed to do? How do I, how do I incorporate this? So I used some local examples, and they were excited about that gets them excited. Oh, this is something we could show our students, that this person, these people are examples of the kinds of things that we want to teach. But otherwise, I think it just goes sort of over their head. I think we have to get people, make sure that there are town committees. I mean, I know that's not our job, but town committees have to be in place before teachers and school communities are going to be able to do anything. I think teacher PD, that's the other thing. A lot of the teachers said to me, well, we don't really know a lot of this history. We need help in putting it in context. How is that going to happen? And I said, well, I don't know that per se. You're, the superintendent, department heads. And actually, the department head said to me and said to the group, well, our high school teachers know all this stuff. They don't need it. And I thought, well, I think it's a good idea to have high school teachers talk amongst themselves and talk and look at the new scholarship. I actually said that. So I do worry a little bit about how it's going to be rolled out. And that's maybe not our job, but I do think as clear as we can be to help to develop materials that teachers in the classroom feel like they can use, that is engaging, will be helpful.
Yeah, and if I can jump in, and it's Allison. Hi, everybody. I apologize. I'm in the car. I showed the one pager to a couple of people in my department today, just to kind of get like a little forum on like what they thought. And similar to everybody's point regarding the teacher piece, the response I got was, oh, cool. The state's doing something for 250. Like they didn't even really receive the information on that one pager as like, teachers should participate. It was kind of like, oh, cool, the state's doing stuff. That's good to know, I guess. And then it was like, okay, on to the next thing. And so to Tony's point about there being an actionable piece for the community creation thing, I don't think you're going to get a lot of interest or emails back to this one pager the way that it currently stands, because there doesn't seem to be an end point for teachers. And they're just working so fast and they've got so much to do on a day-to-day basis that like they might just forget about this if there's not something immediate that they could like a button to click or whatever. And then in terms of PD, I mean, this is a pretty contentious election season, and so I think there might be also some reluctance of teachers to get too civically engaged depending on what district they're in. And I don't know a way to sort of help teachers understand that this is not like a trap You know what I mean? That this is a celebration of democracy, and that it's not going to get them into hot water in districts as well.
I'll ask you all the question. The original purpose of this document was to tell people that 250 exists and that it exists and additional materials will be to follow. Does this document do that? Because I can't promise anybody PD when there's no money to give PD for. You know, I mean, that's the unfortunate truth of it. I mean, if we're going to do, if America 250 is going to do PD on this, I don't honestly at this point, and Cindy or Rachel, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know where the funding for that PD is going to come from.
I think largely that's true. I think we have some money with some discretion to use, and we could possibly plan a PD. I don't know. I don't know what the timeline for that would be. I would defer to you all for what the most important.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's what we got. In some communication that I've had with Connecticut Council and some others, there is going to be a small amount of money available to create some curriculum materials for America 250. Okay, say in the ballpark of $5,000. There's going to be money available to create curriculum materials. Should information on that be included in this?
Well, Steve, can I just walk it back a little bit in terms of just the text? I think to your question about does this achieve the goal of communicating that 250 exists and that teachers are invited to participate? Yes, it does do that. The problem is it uses these phrases like who's encouraged to take part, and students and teachers can explore. And so there's these sort of like vague tasks that are mentioned within this document, but then they don't lead to anywhere. It's kind of like, and there'll be resources available and more information to follow. So I wonder if maybe there's just too much information here. You know what I mean? Like encouraged to take part in what exactly? Like, and are the materials that are the resources that they're going to have access to through 250 going to encourage them to take part in what? Local involvement with local 250 commissions? Like, what is that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think there's a lot of pieces that, like, parts of this that read towards an action, but then there's actually no culmination of an action, if that makes sense.
I think it does make
So I
sense.
think you could just,
Oops, sorry, I was gonna
Yeah.
pick you up. My
no,
fault.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'll back you up, and then I'm also gonna back up Steve because there's no money, so he's not gonna say, oh, like, oh, we're gonna do this thing, and here's this document we're gonna put out. So he's like, he's just trying to drum up people to say, hey, America 250 is happening. Hopefully, in underline and bold, we're gonna get people to join in. I think that's kind of the point. So he's like saying, here are the things, and here's what you could do. Is that the point? Is that what, am I getting that right, Steve? Like, yes, if we had the money, we'd be doing all kinds of great stuff.
Right.
But since we don't, you could do this. You could do that.
Well, and Tony, then maybe that's exactly what this document should say. Join in, help us out. Become part of whatever, the revolution, whatever you want to, and resources are available to bring this into your classrooms. For more information, reach out.
And Cindy, your question about where this is going, we would think that a great place, speaking with Tony and Jenny from Connecticut Council, and I don't want to speak for you guys, so tell me if I'm saying something wrong, that the exact right place for this stuff to go that would be created would be with Teach It.
Yeah, I do think we're ready to add content to Teach It, and there is, and actually I should have shared this in my mind. Mike was going to be on here to share this on our behalf. But there is a call out right now for content for the 250th for both ConnecticutHistory.org and Teach It, and we do have some funding available for that. It's been out on our Teach It and ConnecticutHistory.org social media pages and some of our e-news about those. But we are looking for new content that we'll be releasing as the year goes out.
What would be, how do we coordinate, Cindy, and this is probably not the right venue, to do content that we would be creating versus content? We have to coordinate this in some way.
I'm going to say that this is a conversation to be had with Mike Camizis and some of our digital humanities staff, because they're the ones who are really in the weeds on how to coordinate the materials that are coming together.
Got it.
And I know you don't know too much about it, Cindy, and I hate to ask you just because I'm of interest anyway. So they're going to put together a call, or there's a call already out for teachers and content experts to put together materials that can be accessed on ConnecticutHistory.org and Teach It to help teach America 250. That I just want to make sure I'm hearing that correctly.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
great.
there's no need, then what I'm talking about is creating a group here to do that, financed by, I was talking to Tony today, financed by Connecticut Council is a secondary, is not needed. Because this is already being done.
So it is being done. We have some funding. I'm, again, don't hold me to it. I believe we have $10,000 set aside in the budget for this coming fiscal year. So I think if I get the feeling that if they haven't reached out already, they will be reaching out for some guidance. We do have a digital humanities education manager coming on board who has more education experience than, say, Mike Camizis and Emma Wiley. And she should be joining the team in the next week or two. I can't remember her start date. And we'll be reaching out to many of you to get to know you all and learn more about what exists out there, what's lacking, and how we can better coordinate and help make that happen. Does that answer your question, Tony?
Because well, I would just hope, and again, not to be like, there's some people on this call that if somebody's saying what we need and what we should have, I would beg them to have these people on this call right now part of that conversation. Because there's some very smart people here and some very knowledgeable people here, and they could definitely add to that conversation of what's there and what's needed. That's all I'm saying.
My recommendation would be to add the call for experts to this one pager that you have here.
Okay.
That'd be my recommendation. Call for teachers now in this one pager.
Because what that does, Tony, is if you want to know what the ask is, if you really want to get involved, here's how to get involved.
Yeah, that's my recommendation. And then when we have more ideas about programming, I'm about to have an announcement go out. When we have more ideas about programming, then we can reach out again.
Right.
Good news, we couldn't hear the announcement.
But I think, you know, in the interest of doing good work, I think to coordinate what we're all doing together is a pivotal thing, and not have two groups going off on their own doing the same thing.
Agreed. And I put the link to the call for 250th content in the chat. So anyone's welcome to look through that. It's not going to be so much a group as it is just looking for folks to author more articles and teach it curriculum. So just wanted to be sure to include that.
So
So
folks, with that in mind, could I ask, getting back to the Jenny's, or excuse me, Cindy's, wrong meeting, Jenny, sorry. Cindy's request, if we have, is a call to action this, or, and I mean this serious, and I don't want to be redundant, but should there be some other call to action that would be included on this page? Should there be something else on this page? We can ask people, hey, you want to get involved in writing? Here you go. Is there some other level of involvement that we might want to ask people to take part in?
Is there a way to add some action piece about engaging students in stories about America and encouraging them to get involved in their local history communities? Like in the spirit of 250, or is that too much?
So I'm almost wondering if to cut down on some of the text, if one of the things that we include instead of the text is some of the programs that exist that kids could get involved in. So I'm thinking History Day, I'm thinking Kid Governor, I'm thinking Red, White, and Blue Schools. Is there anything else like that?
We the People.
Yeah, but could I ask respectfully and not being negative to any of those programs, Cindy? How do those programs specifically promote America 250?
And I think the themes for a lot of the programs tie into the 250th themes. And at the end of the day, if students are doing good work with social studies, that's what we care about the most.
Okay.
I think. I could be wrong.
I might propose a line, if it's not too redundant, that says your local, something, this is too long, but each local community is creating a local commission organization to do America 250 in your community. Another activity for students might be to connect with that group.
Yeah.
It's far too wordy, but something about that.
We can do that, and we can include some kind of shortened link to the list of communities and who has a committee put together so far.
I think that a link would be really important just because, you know, even though it doesn't seem like a lot of work to Google something, it is that extra step when, you know, you're seeing a lot of things in your inbox and you're getting a lot of mail. So to have something that they can boom, click, at least they went to our website, at least they went that one step further. You know, I think that would be helpful to accessibility as well.
This is all really great. It's a lot of really good feedback, and I think we'll incorporate all of this, make some changes, make the one or two asks that we have for teachers much more clear, and go from there.
Cindy, can I add something?
Mhm.
I don't, unless I'm missing it. Read any language that would appeal to college students. Are we just not going to make an appeal to that population? When it says students interested in American history and American government, that could be college students, but I could also see students at that level who are interested in the law or political science or a number of other disciplines. You know, unless this document is not for them. Likewise, the use of the word teachers, I mean, educators seems to be suited for all levels of education. I don't think people refer to professors necessarily as teachers.
I think that's a great point. I'll be curious to we'll go through and make some of the edits discussed. I'm wondering if we'll end up making it much more K through 12 focused, in which case what we can do is make a second version of this that is more accessible to colleges. I'm thinking because if we include History Day, We the People, and some of these other programs, that's very K-12. But what we could do is make a second version that includes stuff like Campus Compact and some other college programs that tie into some of these themes. So thank you for the reminder. That feels right.
Any other thoughts on the one pager?
Looks like a lot of good work went into this. Thank you.
So I'm going to skip ahead to point 3. To think, so we will revamp this one pager, we'll get it into better shape for everyone. And then I think our next conversation is really on how we are getting this out to folks. We have a list that I'll throw in the chat about some of the, and that's not a very nice list. I'm sorry, it's not very pretty in there. Some of the organizations that we talked about sharing this one sheeter and any other teacher resources with. So I'll read it out to help. The Association of Boards of Education, public school superintendents, school librarians, the Connecticut Board of Ed, PTAs, Council for the Social Studies, Association of Student Councils, Association for the Study of Connecticut History, Connecticut Library Association, Connecticut League of Museums. Are there other people that we should be thinking about reaching out to right now to make sure that this gets into their hands as well?
This is just an ed world, right, Cindy? That's the audience of this.
Correct.
Uh,
Yeah. Thanks, Allison. And we have a
Hey.
group.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
go ahead, Rebecca.
I have an idea, but I don't know if it's doable, but whether it would be worth trying to get this in the hands of pre-service teachers, if there was some kind of list, I know of a few programs, but I don't know if there's a comprehensive list of pre-service teacher programs in our state, but that might also be good because although excuse me, they might be starting after the 250th. They'll have the resources available to use.
Does anyone know if that exists?
Yeah, I can get you the coordinators of the state colleges.
And I was just going to say, we have a subset of folks who work closely with higher ed that we can start to develop a similar list for higher ed folks. And once we have that second one sheeter for that group, we can start to think about that. Steve, do you know, is there any kind of similar list or listserv for GED programs or ESL programs? Those are two other categories. Yeah.
I can find that. I don't know that, but I can find that out. What do you want, GED and ESL?
Yeah, I think those are two that we've identified in our conversations as specific programs we'd like to think about getting involved.
I think adult ed might be easier than GED.
Okay.
I can get that.
And then we talked about the local committees and getting this out to them. So we'll be sure to take care of that. Is there anything else that we're missing? Are there other types of educators that we haven't thought of that would be working with K-12 students? I know we have the Connecticut League of Museums on here, thinking about museum educators. I'm not sure if there are other groups.
I'm not sure. I know there are, yeah, Ruth, you read my mind. I was going to say homeschool.
I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
What about the possibility of public libraries?
So we have the Connecticut Library Association on the list. Is there a different group that reaches out to them?
Okay. Oh, I see it. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I just wasn't sure if there was some other group as well.
I mean, I also think that it'll be the kind of thing that doesn't necessarily, we won't know who's going to participate maybe until, partially through, which is why we're marketing it early. So, if in 6 months we find that librarians are really interested, we could push up marketing to them, or if a certain age group is really interested, kind of going on based who's interested the most, because probably everyone won't be, but at least if there's some concentrated groups who have the time and space to focus on these things, they could be people we focus on.
So can I ask you this, Cindy, if a school in District X has some kids that want to get directly involved, what's the most efficient way for them to know who to contact in their town to get involved?
So we have a list of local commissions. And currently it's organized by COG, but there is a full list. We are working on trying to get this into a map that makes it a little easier for people to access the information. We haven't quite gotten there yet, but we're getting closer. And so especially this second list has every municipality in Connecticut with the name of their municipal lead if we have one. We recently did a second round of outreach to mayors and are getting more and more folks on the list. So as we hear more, we'll continue to update this. We also are starting to get this group together on a monthly basis so that the local committees are talking to one another and thinking of ways that towns can interact and sharing ideas with each other. So that's a group that's getting up and running. And thank you, Rebecca. I added them to the list. And so so I think that's the best person for people to reach out to directly in terms of how they can get involved. It's harder if their town doesn't have anybody yet. In that case, they should reach out to us, and we are collecting names so that when we do get new people on board, we can kind of share XYZ has been interested in getting involved in your town. So that we're helping them make those connections and kind of building lists of community groups in different areas to help with the creation of these local committees. So we're playing matchmaker. So I think if we don't have any other business, I feel good with the work that we've done today, and we'll be able to make some good progress on this. If anyone has any other questions, thoughts, ideas, please feel free to share them over this.
Cindy, I think something maybe the next step to work on for our group and with with BT Humanities as well, with the folks working there, is if we're indeed going to send materials out to teachers, what indeed are the materials that we're sending out?
Yeah,
That's the next step.
I think that sounds great. And I am hopeful that perhaps next month that can be our topic for conversation. I think what we'll work on, we'll fix these materials up and start sharing them externally. And then we will work on with your feedback, with the feedback from this group, and then with some input from our digital humanities folks, what the outline could be for a Connecticut packet for educators. And we'll bring that outline to the next meeting and start to put together what that would look like.
Tracy and Liz, if you're on, what can you tell us just as a model or as an example, what's going on in West Hartford with between, to your knowledge, who's organizing this in West Hartford? Is there connection to the schools? Do you know that?
Ann McKernan, who's the assistant superintendent, and Tracy is also Adrian, right? Billings Smith. The two of them are, I think, organizing, but I'm going to say loosely organizing. It hasn't been a lot really done yet. And so that was my surprise when I was with these teachers. I thought there was more, but I think our talking to the teachers was the first step. Anne is putting together a cohort of teachers who wants to work on this idea of creating lessons as a group for the next 2 years. I'm not sure what's going to happen after, because we're not obviously
Yeah.
working there, so I'm not sure what the next step is, although we said that we would help if they, with, as a guide on the side. But we haven't heard anything, since that, that was in August, but there is something, and I know, Tracy, is there a town committee? I think, I'm not exactly sure.
There have been several attempts at a town committee, but
Hasn't really- Yeah,
it's not really moved.
yeah, yeah. So I feel like people think this is a faraway thing, but as you know, if we don't start organizing early in schools, it'll never happen.
Right.
Why I applaud Anne, she started it anyway, so she's on it. I just don't know what about the town. I'm not so sure they're that organized yet.
Gotcha. Anyone else have anything they want to add? I think we're good, Cindy.
I think we are. Thank you, everybody.